Right. So I used to be an analytic philosopher and studied mainly like to study quantities because I really like mathematics and I don't think there's enough um, theorization on mathematics and mathematical mechanics. Anyway, I packed all that in because it blew my brain open. Actually, when I started studying philosophy, it was just philosophy is very analytic and reductive, and you won't actually get to answers on the outside. It just makes you really good at being analytic with the parts. So when you're combing on your way through the outside to the outside of it all, you keep very analytic and very pure in your reasoning. So philosophy wasn't really going to get me anywhere, and I started studying theology after philosophy because that's where that leads. And thankfully, I had philosophy to use as a tool to get through all the theology. The theology part destroyed my life, absolutely ruined and devastated it and destroyed my life. I had cults of Rose World and Golden Dawn and Rose Dawn and Rosemary and all these gypsy cults come from all over the world to tear me apart. For my birthright was like you're the guy that knows the answers kind of thing, which is painful because it just happened accidentally and they got destroyed. So I had enough of philosophy and I had very much enough of theology, and I started skateboarding. Yes, I started skateboarding for the simple and thoughtless joy and the innocent splendor that is skateboarding. I turned on my favorite skateboard channel, Dan Corrigan, Powell Peralta, to see my man's back in town, Drew and the Andersons back in town. Awesome tree video part. And they spent one whole video talking about analytic philosophy. Oh, God. I was like, get back to skating, you monkeys. Forget about the typewriter. Sorry, guys. Fly, my pretties. Deville, fly. So, yeah, it's gas. Wasted education. The guys do a lot for me. I love watching their videos and stuff, particularly Dan and Andy. Dandy. I loved watching their videos from like a few years back when they just worked so well together, hanging out, skateboarding around cities and stuff. They were hilarious, absolutely hilarious to watch. Dan's so quick witted, and Andy's also quick witted but kind of silent about it. And this is kind of exactly what happened here in this situation. They were talking about monkeys and typewriters. So it's the thing about typewriters that if you give like it's only a handful of monkeys. If you get a handful of monkeys, it doesn't really matter. Dan says infinite monkeys to make the process or the computation work a bit quicker. Infinite monkeys, infinite time tapping nonsense into typewriters, they'll eventually have the works of William Shakespeare. So this is a lot to do with like sequence and series, mathematics, and limits that approach infinity. And there's a lot going on, despite it's a very simple thing. Say, oh yeah, I suppose if it goes on for infinity. No, so it's not bad to have disagreements between friends. Like they are really good friends, and I can tell they click on ways that other people won't click together. And they absolutely are hilarious to watch together. They're so much fun. They're so witty and skateboardy humor, kind of sarcastic and stuff, cruising around together. They're fucking hilarious. So I'm not trying to gel or bring any reason, but yeah, put some use to my wasted education. And I'm going to talk about the monkeys and the typewriters. Um, yeah, so here we go. So the the monkey typewriting is just a function for random sequence of codes, and the thing about a book, any book, is it's in a sequence. It's a code. It's just a long sequence of code. So the feasibility of that, the fact that say a monkey can just sit there at a typewriter and type absolute nonsense, and if this goes on for infinity, eventually infinity, like so, this is the thing that Andy wasn't. See, like Deville even says, like when you put when Andy Anderson puts his mind to something, he won't stop. And I think it was so cruel of Corrigan to be throwing infinite mechanical philosophy, infinite analytic philosophies at Andy, because you kind of see Andy just kind of like really thinking about it, and he's just trying to skate like, yeah, what, no, yeah, and then like 1 a.m. in the morning, like Andy and jumps up and just like messages him. It's like, got it. It's like, poor Andy, like he won't stop until like he gets his head around this, and it's it's infinite. It's dealing with terms of infinity. So it's like that's kind of cruel, and poor Andy's genius mind to. I thought Dan debated his points very very quickly and very astutely, and Andy had some things to say, which so it's hard for them to both to take the appreciation of each other's side because one of them might render the other one um, uh, yeah, inner less valid. So yeah, sorry, keep. Without further ado, here we go, monkey stars. So yeah, this random sequence of letters is just a random sequence machine. So if you just had a machine that printed random letters instead of the monkey, then eventually this random sequence will make Macbeth or something like this. The interesting thing about using a monkey in the situation is, say, if you gave me infinite amount of years to jump 50 meters in the air, it doesn't matter how much time I have, I will never be able to jump physically. So there's limits of actual potential in there. The fact that the monkey analogy is just a random letter processor, a random letter generator, and there's loads of them. So random letter generators running, and they'll eventually make that sequence. There's a philosopher in ancient Greece called Heraclitus who said, "No man will ever step into the same river twice." And I had wrote this aphorism. Well, it's not published, but it got widely distributed. It's in a collection of aphorisms that got leaked of mine, and saying that, well, if all the atoms on Earth remain, all the water atoms on Earth remain the same, there's not coming and going from space kind of thing, and if the world lasts forever, an infinite amount of time, then definitely all the water molecules that were in that river at that time will come around again to be that exact same reconstituted river that it was in the first place. So if you leave things go on to infinity, you have to imagine that every single potential process will be reached. Now, the likelihood of it will make the computation happen faster. So the monkeys on the typewriter, it'll be a limit very much close towards infinity. It's never, it's not. Andy's very practical on the matters. It's not going to really happen. Well, Andy doesn't say this is not really going to happen. Andy has a very nice little eloquent debate, which is very philosophically valid. Andy said that I'm getting a phone call, am I? Andy said it's not the same because Shakespeare would have put in all these emotions and thoughts and human ideas and concepts into writing this book. And oh my god, it's always the worst time. Sorry, I'm getting phone calls. I never get phone calls. Andy said it takes the thought, the heart, the emotion, the integrity, all these psychological aspects that you find in Shakespeare, to make it the same. And it's not the same that a monkey or a random computer generator so happens to accidentally write it off. It does actually. There's no difference because one copy of Macbeth is supposed to be the exact same as the next copy of Macbeth. So even if a monkey generated or computer generated or William Shakespeare himself printed them off and they all look the exact same, I'm going to not be able to tell any difference between reading these 2 or 3 different copies of Macbeth. They're all the exact same. So virtually, in this case of literature, it's the exact same. Now, if you take Andy's point that there was no heart or emotions, it's very interesting to consider. If you reapply this to art, painting, it makes a difference because we're not dealing with a sequence of letters, a long sequence or code of letters that will eventually be broken or eventually be realized. Every single sequence will have to be gone through. So if every single sequence is gone through, it's not just going to be Macbeth, it's going to be, it'll have the Bible in it, it'll have nearly every work, every single literature, piece of literature will be contained by these monkeys. Oh my god, I never get calls, and now for some reason, just oh my god, sorry. What's the likelihood? So this is a very interesting thing in painting because then if I have, say, the Mona Lisa, and I get a 3D printer, and I print the exact same Mona Lisa using my 3D printer, and say that, well, these are both worth the exact same amount of money, and people would laugh at you and say, no way, that one's the original, it's worth a bazillion. This one is just a recreation. So yeah, but they're physically, like the books, the 2 Macbeths are the exact same. I was like, yeah, but they're the exact same thing. So it's a really interesting thing to say that hearts and intentions and minds and the place do actually have a lot of validity when it comes to certain things. And it's just weird in the case of the literature that it's just a long sequence of code. And again, the painting is just a sequence of code as well, or a sequence of processes. But again, this painting is not going to be anywhere near as worth as the original painting itself. You might say now compare this like to original manuscripts, but it's not. When you get too far into pedantic details, particularly like the analogy, like using the monkey, you have to be careful just using the poetical analogies in examples like these, and not to get too carried away into the finer details. like I said, well, I don't know if the monkey can actually physically write a word, like it's random letters. But again, it's on to infinity. So I was like, well, if I can't jump 50 meters and the monkey can't actually write a word, maybe the monkey will actually only spew completely and utter random letters for eternity and never actually even write a sentence. That's kind of like what Andy was saying. It's like you might get like a few words, but you're not going to get like the entire thing. So there is a very interesting line of debate regarding the monkey itself. Use as the analogy because there might not be physically possible, even within the limits of infinity, for him to, or him or her, sorry, the lady, my monkey, to physically achieve this. I will never be able to jump 50 meters in the air. Well, as far as I know, yeah, I'm fairly certain. So giving me all the time in the world isn't going to make a difference. So there are certain, oh my dear Jesus, this is so painful. It's like getting every single message and warning now. Okay, sorry. So I was doing something. Where am I going? So yeah, Andy jumps up at 1 a.m. in the morning and he realizes that this code is one of the premises of Dan's debate that makes it physically possible. That it's just a random word generator would be better, like random word generator and random sequence of words. Then you'll eventually, well, it'll happen a lot more realistically feasible. So it'll happen, it'll occur, it'll reach achievement before other ones, which will probably again go on for infinite limits approaching infinity. And Andy wakes up and texts Dan in the middle of the night, like, yes, got it. Poor Andy. If he was making clay models, and he's making clay models of everything, and you said you gave him infinite amount of time, would he make a clay model of Macbeth? And Dan said yes, he would also make a clay model of everything on Earth. And he was like, you can make a Gandalf and a something clay model, and they team up together and help him or something. Again, so yeah, we have to be careful about using monkeys and things because the physical abilities or the potentials of monkeys. Sorry, not doubting on my monkeys, my cousin monkey, but yeah, might not be able to physically mold us. But Dan is also virtually and mathematically kind of correct that yes, he will make a mold of Macbeth. It again, writing the computations on a word or computer, that location will occur a lot quicker than making clay models of everything on Earth until he makes a clay model of Macbeth, but that will actually mathematically happen under an infinite. Again, if it's physically possible. So just some lines of debate to consider. See, I'm not going to make anybody right or wrong, but I'm just going to confuse you more probably. Or confuse it. Help you gel a bit more, guys. Guys like they don't get on well enough and they get on so well. Alright, so there's a really interesting point that Andy had about the ingredients, the heart and the emotion, and it's just the technicalities of literature that it is a code. And was there another bit I had to say? I can't remember what it was. I did have something more to say about it again. I don't know if I've already said it. Have I already said it? What have I just said? Phil just stopped fucking recording and started walked off. I was like, I know, I feel the same, Phil. So handy, so Andy can sleep a bit better, you know. So yeah, there are technicalities on the examples between monkeys being physically able to ever achieve this, and yeah, and then the art thing as well. There's another one that I'd like to throw in just to I don't know if I've rounded this off enough to say which one's which or what's where. Yeah, that it's also a very similar one to the line of thought that Andy has. See, Andy has these really nice, not so mathematical, philosophical views, and then the maths is very undebatable, so it's hard to get around either way. I said I have something very similar to Andy's point of view about the situation. If you took all the elements of the periodic table, or at least the ones relative to humans or organic chemistry, so like carbon and magnesium, sodiums, hydrogens, oxygens, and you put them in a snow globe, and you shook the snow globe for eternity, it would never turn into a human brain. So this is my defense about God and intelligent creation and intelligent design. And this is relative because the monkeys are supposedly using unintelligent design. They're just randomly mashing letters for for an infinite amount of time, infinite towards infinity. You can shake the snow globe for infinity, and it'll never turn into a human brain. And I get some people turn around and say, "Well, you better start shaking to prove yourself right." But I'm kind of fairly confident. Again, if it's just what I'm saying. It's just like people say that like random atoms bumping off each other for practically an infinite amount of time developed, humans from fish and stuff. So all these weird mechanical explanations that people have, which are very cold and mathematical and scientific again. But this is another very good point of Andy saying that there's other ingredients that are not being accounted for really. And it is just the fact that one copy of Macbeth just looks like the other copy of Macbeth. There's ought to be no difference. And even said, like, what about one that just misses comma? And it's like, yeah, we'll have all the variations. It'll have all the incorrect variations, and it'll eventually have the correct variation as well. So there'll be a whole lot of wrong versions, but then, yeah, it will be one. So that's a weird thing that I always said, that there's something missing from your equation, that random atoms and random elements have been bumping off each other for potentially infinite amount of time, very, 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 very long, 68 million, I don't know, amount of time, and it just won't happen. That there's other things, that ingredients that are involved in turning these lumps of soft metals and things into a human brain, this intelligent organization. The intelligent organization was also lacking in the monkeys, which would make these things actually physically manifest. So remember I said like, we'll never jump 50 meters in the air kind of thing. This will never turn into a brain. The snow globe full of elements will never turn into, it never physically will. It's just another weird line debate that I use to prove existence of ulterior intelligence or intelligent design. It's a weird thing if people question the capacity for, like, if you're talking about something like the existence of God, like, you're kind of talking, just saying like it is some sort of superior governing intelligence. And if you smoke a doobie and you watch some David Attenborough, like, whoa, man, it's like all connected. It's like, and how do they know where to go? And how do they know? And are they like communicating with each other? It's all one big fucking job, man. I tell you, they're all in on it together. Um, and look at ourselves. I always thought one of the most interesting lines of debate against atheism was like, well, you're a very intelligent entity, aren't you? Questioning your own intelligence. You have the ability to actually question these things in the first place, and you're questioning the potential of ulterior or exterior intelligence. And you yourself are very intelligent. Like, you're kind of defeating the process really by acting or challenging it in the first place, or having the ability to yeah, think of it in the first place. I think I had a lot more to say. I can't remember what I was going to say. I didn't really round this off very well or leave any kind of conclusive answers. Um, just so Andy can get some sleep, maybe. But yeah, so there's fallouts, or there's technicalities of being physically able to actually ever manifest that. And despite the monkeys will be very, very, very unlikely even string a sentence together, it is mathematically towards infinity. So it annoyingly, there's going to be, an infinite waste of absolute garbage. But sadly, mathematically, yeah, and they kind of have a point there. But there's a lot more. Always to the examples anyway. You always want to study the elements of your examples and things. So the monkey and the typewriter doesn't actually help very much. But if you had a random letter or word generator that computed random things, and that went on for, it's the same thing kind of as monkey, it's kind of feasible that it would eventually generate Macbeth. Oh, that's what I wanted to say. Damn it. Yes. And specifically, again, using the examples of the monkeys, it's a weird thing that Andy was saying. It's like, well, this one is purely accidental. It's a mathematical fluke. This one was actually written with heart and mind and intentions and psychology and history and loads of things that make this very important piece of work. This one's just a mathematical fluke. So they both have different novelties, really, despite being absolutely identical. Questionable to think then, can this monkey physically have the emotions per se of Macbeth, of being usurped and power struggles, like, silverback monkeys and things and prides. I'd say monkey, and particularly because it's Macbeth and like or Shakespeare, and they're dealing with a lot of monkey-headed royalty. I was like, yeah, I think the monkey could feel these similar motives and things that happen in things like Macbeth, power struggle and being cheated and ripped off and killing your brother or killing somebody for power. So monkeys do this a lot. So I think the monkeys might have the ability to feel some of the human aspects that we find in Shakespeare. Um, if that, I, I don't think the monkey can put it in writing. So to say that, I say I'm getting too far into this specific example, but I was just mulling it over. It's like, well, maybe can the monkey actually consider the interesting facets of Macbeth, envy and jealousy and corruption and um, guilt? He killed, he goes insane after killing Duncan or something. Um, that Yeah, he probably can, but again, he can't actually put it in writing. He can. Yeah, then you never know. So I was thinking myself, as like, what if the monkey was painting? I was like, monkeys can actually kind of paint pretty good. And it's like, if you let the monkey painting for infinite amount of time, would he actually eventually paint the Mona Lisa? And then I was like, oh, and it's just because monkeys kind of can paint. I'm thinking maybe he could actually paint a Mona Lisa. Um, so yeah, using things like the monkey is a difficult ability, a different. It just you have to be, yeah. You want kind of very analytic devices in your thought experiments, and using things like monkeys can kind of make weird tangents as a like specific absurdia. Dealing too much with the poetic device than the actual principles that are contained, which are mathematical principles. We're talking about limits that approach infinity and sequence and series, which is a really cool area of calculus, by the way. If you ever study sequence and series, it's so much fun. I'm not joking, it's absolutely awesome. Limits that approach infinity. And it's like, so this is twice as infinite as that. I was like, no, it's twice as dense as that, but they're both infinite. It's fucking twice as infinite. Infinity plus one. And it's like, it's loads of fun stuff. Um, yeah. What I'm saying is, I don't know, why aren't these monkeys skateboarding? Why are they typing? Sorry, I'm only messing with this. It's nice to see you back. So, yeah, limited approach infinity needs to be physically possible or physically possible. Um, the monkey could probably have these feelings or understandings of the components of Macbeth, but then being able to put it down into writing physically himself or him or herself. Um, is probably unlike. I don't want to doubt their old Homo sapien cousins here, but I doubt that the monkey could then write eloquently or an example of these things. But probably physically, definitely, I'd imagine probably physically, definitely. Go through can go through some similar things about power and extension and greed and envy and who's the silverback gorilla. Um, so yes, I hope we all know a lot less than we knew. Comedy does that. This is a comedy. This is like people. You watch Dara O'Brien, and he's supposed to be all eloquent and scientific, but he kind of really makes you absurdities about matters. And like Tommy Tiernan said, my mission here is we all know a lot less than we knew when we walked into this place. So I'd like to kind of just add a bit more like absurdity and question things that you think are certain. My aim is to everybody knows a lot less. We'll all walk out a little less certain than we did when we walked in, because it's never a good thing to be certain in life. When that's people always want to get the answer and get certainty in life, so they're just done with it. And we do this a lot. We'll just give things a name and say it's like something. So there's a lot in science. You give it a name and you give it some properties and descriptions, and you're like, oh, thank God. Oh, that's that taken care of. I know what that is now. It has a name, it has a diagram, and it has features, and it has similarities to it, but you never actually penetrate into the actual being itself and you can't really actually penetrate into the things that be. You can just study quantities and functions and relativities, but it's always just putting quantities alongside things and never actually saying much about the thing itself. I got a good one on that. Immanuel Kant. Ask a woman, how much do you weigh? I was like, ooh, you can't say that. And I was like, nah, no, you're messing it up. You don't weigh anything. You don't weigh at all. Um, weight is not a part of you. You have a density and mass, and weight is a phenomenological compound of gravity and your weight and mass. So it's actually a phenomena. It's a thing that happens when combined with gravity. You don't weigh anything, darling. Actually, it's just gravity, and you and gravity sharing this weight or this quantity that we call weight. But this has no weight in it. This has mass and density, and then combined with the gravity, it creates this thing we call weight. And then we measure the compound, the weight, the mass, density, and volume mixed with gravity. So to be super analytic again, that's what Kant really goes down into stripping everything really naked, so you can be very analytic and analytic with your parts. So we don't make any kind of absurd examples regarding monkeys and variables of the capacities and potentials of monkeys. So yes, monkeys, typewriters, infinity and beyond, and hopefully Andrew can get some sleep now. Maybe his rest is mind. You had very good points to make regarding the necessary ingredients, the qualitative ingredients. So that is more philosophical um, than the mathematics of the situation. Quantum philosophy. People always say quantum science. Quantum just means quantity. Like, all sciences are quantum sciences. They're all dealing with quantity. What quantum scientists say is that quantities themselves have qualities. So it's usually that quantities of things determine the qualities of things, but quantum science insists that no, number three is blue. Yeah, number three is actually blue, and so they're actually saying that quantities themselves, which are, yeah, have their own qualities, inherent qualities, kind of things in them. Fairly certain anyway. Again, I just gave up on it all. Started studying theology instead, and yeah, that destroyed me. So yeah, we can talk a lot about theology as well if you want. It's essentially heater bees, heater bees. Yeah, it's a big. Humans make we know because we're so knowy, and again Macbeth and knowledge and power just destroy people and tear us down. The bees get on great, the bees just do it naturally. Oh, heater bee, and like, oh, you're the guy, and like, yeah, there's lots of heater bees. Don't make it big. No, you're the guy. You're the Jesus. You're the prophet. You're the angel, the Messiah. And we make a big fuss, and it is just something as eloquent as heater bees. Certain bees that worked really hard, and know best, and you're supposed to do them no harm and follow their commands. The bees do this, and they don't even draw attention to it or make a big deal. And they make nectar and gold and honey. We make a big fuss, a big mess, and then we should crucify them and destroy them, and you're not supposed to harm them, and then floods and everything else. It's my theology in a nutshell. Don't harm the heater bees. If I got anything to say, probably, hopefully, not certain. Um, Also, another really funny thing about just what we're talking about quantities and philosophies and physics and things. If anyone ever says to a skateboarder, "Why don't you go back to school?" other than making jokes about skating the schools, you can say like, "Yeah, I'm studying for a degree in applied physics, and this is all field work." I gave that to Jay Dillow because somebody shouted at him, "Go back to school." And I was like, "Oh no, yeah, I'm doing a PhD in applied physics, and this is all field work, skateboarding, applied physics." I mean, there's so much trigonometry and just so much aerodynamics. If there was some chemistry involved, which there might be with dragon formulas and things, you could almost push and say it's rocket science, velocity, mass, um, calculus, yeah, the physics. You need the chemistry a bit as well. So maybe drink beers. What's the best beer? It's technically rocket science. This is all field work we got going on here. There. Okay, that's enough, I think, for the Shake Junt community. Loved Crazy Wisdom. Well done, Master of Physics. And do you have anything else to say? No, I think that's it. Stay junty, kids. And love to see more dandy videos in the future. Yeah, just Andy and Dandy tearing about Andy. having their laughs in New York City. Nothing against Nigel's very professional and all that. And no rock and roll. We're very much there to make skate footage. We're there to do that. But God, I just felt so bad at one point. Starting no bother Nigel. They're in like Lower Manhattan or something. And Nigel's so friendly and Canadian's like, have a lovely day. And I was just thinking if I was in like in New York City and like, what you just tell me to do? What did you just tell me? I said, oh, I said how to have a lovely day. Don't tell me to do anything. What do you mean? I was like, no, it's just being friendly. What the hell do you think of? Funny videos. Some guy working in Detroit handing out flowers to people at his shop. And man, the reaction there was hilarious. Oh, I broke with it laughing. Every guy starts smashing up. Do you think I'm some sort of queer? You don't want this flowers? Flowers don't grow, man. I was like, what do you think? And he gives it to the girls, and all the girls like stop and start crying. Like, nobody's ever given me a flower. I'm gonna pack up a van full of flowers and get out to Detroit and get all the ladies. So you want to see? Nobody's ever given me a. All the men smashing the place up. Do you think I'm some sort of queer? You think I'm in? I say, no, peace be with you, Nigel. I won't tell you what to do, but I hope you have a lovely day. All right, that's enough of me. Okay, stay gentle.